Ladies and gentlemen, I think that the performance was very powerful. What do you think? I liked it very much. They say that appetite comes with eating, but the time has come to a more intellectual food. Let me introduce to the stage a person who is one of the biggest authorities on the economic and monetary union. A man of word and a man of deeds. He is one of the longest serving finance ministers in Europe, and actually many of his fellow ministers in Eurozone often come to him for advice. So he's one of the very strong Slovak voices in Europe. Let me welcome on stage Minister Peter Kazimir.
This is really right timing. The After Devil's song, Finance Minister is coming. And don't worry, I'm not going to sing. I'm collecting money in this country. And who knows, maybe I would like to think like Maestro Kotan and not to tax people anymore. No, maybe not. I cannot think of any problem that is related to fragility that a single country can solve on its own, not one. So here are our choices. There are two. One is realistic, and the other one is fantastic. The realistic choice is that extraterrestrials would come from space, make us work together. And fantastic is we people will do it ourselves. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Unfortunately, that quote is not mine. I've stolen it from a very special woman, a good friend of mine. There are many who would say she has superpowers, at least political ones. She can build a broad consensus when it's badly needed, and she's turning strategies written on the paper into reality. A summer child coming from Sofia, Kristalina Georgieva. There is something special about her. Every time she enters a room, she owns it with her smile and an original sense of humor. Little did she know back in 1997, when she got to the London School of Economics, learning English thanks to the BBC's World Service, how bright her professional future will be. Back then, a policy shaper was about to be born. Kristalina is a woman of dozens of superlatives. She wrote the first Bulgarian book on microeconomics, still a really bestseller back at home. She was this region's first top policymaker, getting a vice president job at the World Bank, giving birth to more than 100 publications, mostly on environmental and economic policy issues. Then in 2010, she was crowned the European of the Year by the European Voice, and many, many more. It's really impossible to tell her no. Not even Germany's excellent ex-finance Minister Wolfgang Schäuble, Dr. Wolfgang Schäuble, who was awarded this prize last year, even Wolfgang was not able to do it. She's a very special, an optimist, who loves music and ballet, a kind and welcoming person in her professional and private life, able to have what many only dream about a functioning work-life balance, combine her busy professional life with family, especially her daughter Desislava. It is my personal honor, it's really my personal honor to be here tonight and say thank you for being you. Dear Kristalina, you have said once that your journey has taught you that change is unstoppable, and it depends on us to make the best out of it for ourselves and for the world we live in. I could not agree more. I wish politics would have more policymakers of your kind. Your energy and stamina inspire others to strive for better. So it's a privilege to know you, Kristalina. Thank you for being you, and best of luck on your future travels. Kristalina Georgieva.
That was incredible. Dear Peter, dear ministers, excellencies, friends. I am very deeply touched. I have never been introduced in such a emotionally touching manner by somebody who I very deeply respect and have seen reaching to decisions with significance for his country and for the European Union with incredible thoughtfulness and always staying calm. I was also quite touched that you would start with the story that I really often use when I talk about the transformation we have to go from. But being here in the Tatra Mountains, I thought more appropriate that you would start with another story that I often use. And it is a story about two men and a bear. Here in the Tatra Mountains we have, I'm told, some 800 bears, and bear watching is a very enjoyable, somewhat risky entertainment. So the story I would start from goes like this. Two men are walking around the Tatra forest, and all of a sudden, here is a big brown bear. One of the men immediately starts running. The other one takes off his backpack, pulls his sneakers, and starts putting the sneakers on his feet. First man says, "Are you crazy? You think with the sneakers you're going to run faster than the bear?" Second one says, "I don't want to run faster than the bear. I want to run faster than you." And this is going to be actually at the heart of what I would like to talk about. And it is Europe running faster than the other guy. We had a very interesting discussion today, and most of the discussion focused primarily on the internal challenges we face. But there is this big world out there, and it is absolutely essential for Europe in a period of time when we are moving towards multipolarity to seize the opportunity for leadership, stand up and be counted. We have gone through difficult 10 years. We have gone, as Marusz has recorded today in his opening, we have gone through financial crisis, economic crisis, refugee crisis, terrorism, Eurozone in Greece, Greece in, Greece maybe out. But the most traumatic of all crises actually was the mother of all crises, crisis of confidence. And it has pained me in these years to see how Europeans undersell themselves. And we should not, because of who we are. Europeans are wonderful. We are generous. We value the beautiful things culture brings, as we have just witnessed in this incredible performance. We help each other, and we help others in dire need. And we have incredibly smart, well-educated people. In fact, my institution, the World Bank, some years ago, issued a report, very positive and flattering report about Europe and Europeans. Among other things, the report said, Europe is the world's lifestyle superpower. Everybody wants to live like Europeans do. So my message to us this evening is that it is absolutely critical in this moment of time, as my former boss, Jim Wolfenson, used to say, to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We have to deal with our internal difficulties, and we have to stand up to the world and seize leadership. And I want to talk about three areas in which, in my hearts of heart, I believe Europe is demanded, and it is critical for our future that we take leadership. First, in the global economy. As we have heard today, if not Europe, who is going to bring norms and standards for an open economy, multilaterally tuned economy, in which workers are respected, rights are respected, and we compete, but not because we want the other guy to be eaten by the bear. We actually want to all be able to run far and fast. Europe has been, unfortunately, over the last years, somewhat less present in demonstrating this leadership globally. We are picking up on trade, but I would argue we need to pick up much more forcefully on the competitiveness of our economy by being bold in the way we approach the rules within which we operate. We were talking at our table that we in Europe, in so many ways, have regulation that is from the 20th century. We are not in the 20th century anymore. We have to think about regulatory environment that protects rights, but also gives flexibility, for example, in our labor market in a way that makes it possible for people to adjust to this fast-moving technological advancement. I was quite, shall I say, amused listening to Christine Lagarde during the annual meetings. Christine said the following: now that the rain has stopped and there is sunshine, is the moment to fix the roof. And I was amused because, unfortunately, experience has systematically and repetitively been that we fix the roof when it pours. And we in Europe at the moment have to realize that we are just about to repeat that mistake because we are becoming a little less pushy on the reform front because the sun is shining. I'm going to tell you something that is not yet published. It will be published on the 31st of October. This is our Doing Business report. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Doing business? Okay, well, that is a report that compares countries on conditions for doing business, and it is in its 15th edition. now integrated in some 22 measurements of different ways of capturing the business environment. So here is the news that is going to come. Second year in a row, many European countries, EU member countries, are actually sliding down rather than going up in the ranking. And that is not where we want to be. So I would strongly argue that while it is really difficult to do reforms when the sun is shining, we actually should listen to Christine Lagarde. Hey, she's French, she's one of us. And do exactly what she tells us to do, step up on the pedal, so our economies become more competitive and our institutions more capable to cope with the challenges of the 21st century. I am particularly keen to see this happening in the area of digital, innovation, education, science, technology, because this is where we see more companies from US, Asia, picking up speed than European companies. I will tell you my personal sad story. I went back to the United States and I had to buy a car. Never before I have bought anything but European. I had a BMW, I had a cute little Audi TT, and so I assumed I would be buying a European car. Except that I really wanted to have an electric car that can go long distance. We Europeans don't produce those, so I'm driving a Tesla. When I bought the Tesla, I said to myself, I want in 2 years to be able to replace it with European car that has the same competitive edge. Hopefully it would be there. For this to happen, we have to be extremely aggressive in terms of how we train people in Europe, how our educational system, once again, is the envy of the rest of the world, how we train, how we retrain, how we measure success. And I will tell you another interesting story. PISA. Singapore got to be #1 in PISA. And I was with the Deputy Prime Minister of Singapore, and of course, politely congratulated him. He looks at me really sad and says, why are you congratulating me? Being #1 on a ranking of the 20th century means nothing. So I hope we in Europe would invent the ranking of the 21st century that allows us to push our educational system so we are the most competitive in the world. My second point, and I'm not going to dwell that much on my second point because in the presence of Minister Kazimir, it is embarrassing to do it. It is the euro. I know that we are going to go through all kinds of discussions. Should we integrate more? Should we work more on the euro? Should we not? From a global perspective, there is only one answer, and the answer is yes, we must. We have to build our currency to carry us forward in competitive terms in a way that serves our businesses, serves our economies, serves our people. My third and last point on where Europe absolutely must exercise leadership is the area I currently work on, development. Why? Because when we look at the world around us, where is most dangerous for Europe? In our neighborhoods. Whether we talk about Horn of Africa or Yemen or Libya or Syria or Mali, these are all countries where a very bad thing is happening. Extreme poverty is going up, not down. And it is going up because of wars, bad governance, because of something that we should pay much more attention to, population growth. When Mali grows its population by 3% and its economy by 2.5%, where do you think people from Mali would like to go to work. Certainly not in Mali. The jobs are simply not going to be there. I am convinced that in this area, Europe is strong and it has to become even stronger. We ought to lead the world in terms of treating development investments as part of our security and defense investment. And do it because it is morally right, it is in our hearts to be generous, but also because it is so much in the interest of the European people, in the European public. And I am very much hoping that my call that came to the bank exactly last year during the Tatra Summit, and the first person I told that news that the call has come was Peter here. It was for a reason. The Europeans own 30% of the World Bank. Before my arrival, at the top of this institution, we had an American, an Indonesian, a Chinese, and a Brazilian. And now it is for an European from the eastern part of Europe to run it. I need you to help, not me and the bank, help in development for us to have a more peaceful, more secure world, and it would be a more prosperous world for all of us. Since the next thing to come is main course, I will stop right here, although this is a theme I can talk quite a lot about. I was tempted, Peter, to prove that my first 14 years in professional life was to be a professor. Never stop before 45 minutes are over. But since this is such a wonderful group of people, and I really love you very much, I would let you eat. Thank you. Thank you all very much. It is a great honor. When I was growing up in Bulgaria, if anybody was to tell me that one day I would be here in Slovakia, in the Tatra Mountains, to receive this honor after Dr. Schäuble falling in his feet.
God bless him.
I would have just laughed. And today, I'm extremely touched, extremely touched. It is a great honor. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We can put it there, yes.